Topsy was founded in 2008 as a social search engine. We've been around and really invested heavily in the analytics and the infrastructure at Topsy to provide the team with both real time and historical data. So, Topsy is based out of San Francisco here in the United States. And to date, we're one of the few providers with access to the full Twitter fire hose. So, what this means is you can analyze data that's coming in both in real time and historically for roughly 450 million tweets a day and 1 million unique websites. So when you're querying Topsy, you're querying roughly 250 billion items in our own index. We've invested heavily in the infrastructure here at Topsy to provide that data in real time. So right now, many of the current attendees on the line are very familiar with Topsy Pro, our web-based analytics search engine that allows you to filter and refine by geography as well as keyword within the platform. We do have APIs and data services available. I know many of you are also trialing our new API 2.0, but today we're going to be focusing primarily on the dashboards, which is our latest capabilities offering that's available through the interface on Topsy Pro. So some of the unique capabilities Topsy offers, such as instant results for real-time metrics that are not a sampling or subset of data, but based more on the full fire hose of tweets, as well as the relevance ranking and discovery capabilities are all available through the new dashboards. And just a refresher, some of those data enrichments that we provide, such as geoinferencing, are also available. So if you're looking to infer the location of the data, since less than 1% of the full fire hose contains a latitude-longitude coordinate, you can actually refine all of the data in your dashboard with that geoinferencing that provides 98% coverage with 95% accuracy for that 99% of data without a latitude and longitude coordinate tied to it. You can also identify content with sentiment scores, specific links that are trending, and incorporate some of the data around the key influencers or experts within the dashboards as well. So the custom dashboards, the goal of this capability is really to provide our existing analysts and new analysts with the ability to share the valuable insights they're gaining from the platform with their leadership and management. So for example, if you're manually creating a report every week that you're sharing with your management, you can actually create a live dashboard with the data points and the insights available for your management that will update in real time and allow them to quickly view that information without you having to constantly update those reports on a weekly basis. So the customized dashboards really leverage all of the analytics and capabilities within Topsy Pro. So essentially, you can drag and drop any keywords or any queries that you've developed, search criteria into the dashboard, and customize that content and layout. And what's great about it is that you can actually refine the view-only status of the dashboard viewer. So for example, if you have management that is very hands-on and wants to really drill into that data and see what's causing those peaks and dips in conversation, you can enable the dashboard to let them drill into those data points. Whereas maybe there's another manager that doesn't want the ability to drill down. Maybe they like just the high-level overview and don't want to go into the main data points within the data sets. You could restrict that access so they're not allowed to drill into those data points on the dashboard. And the way that the dashboards are set up to date, you can manage the dashboards. So each analyst will have access to dashboard editing privileges. And the way we've set it up is you can have specific agencies or email subscriptions for each group. So maybe the Office of National Statistics wants an internal subscription to manage all of their internal accounts. You could have a set of email addresses slated to viewer-only status, where the analysts could then share those dashboards out with the users through their emails with that viewer-only status. So it's also great for more of an enterprise-wide management as well. Maybe you'd like to share these insights out with other agencies or experts in other fields. You could essentially create multiple subscriptions that allow different access for those domains, so to speak. And we will be rolling out some co-branding or customized styling. So if that's of interest to the teams, we can certainly take that conversation offline after the custom dashboards presentation. So here's a sample of a dashboard that we've developed for the brand Nike. And I wanted to start off, we do have some customized UK dashboards that are going to be showed, and we'll build those out. But I really thought this was a great example to demonstrate how your agency can really position the dashboard as almost a brand monitoring tool for your agency to identify sentiment, key conversations, maybe other campaigns that you're running or sub agencies, and monitor all of these simultaneously within one specific pane. So building a dashboard is relatively simple. Essentially, you would take any of the queries that you develop in Topsy Pro and add them to a customized dashboard widget. So you would log into Topsy Pro. You'd be able to click through on the dashboard tab in the platform, choose the layout that you'd like for your setting, and then drag and drop all of these separate widgets into one main frame. And the end result would look very similar to this dashboard. So today what I'd like to do is demonstrate some of these dashboards for the team. And how to build out some of these specific dashboards. So here you can see, since I have dashboard privileges, it would become just a separate tab on the analytics page of my secure login of Topsy Pro. So as an analyst, when I go to my dashboards, you can see here, I've created my own dashboard to monitor Capitol Hill highlights. So this is essentially identifying the peaks and dips in conversations around key government policies as they pertain to the different branches of government here in the United States. So essentially, a lot of the conversations right now are related to the government shutdown, and you can see key peaks in conversation around the executive branch, the House Democrats, and House Republicans. Here in my time frame, I've set this for the last 24 hours as my default time frame, but I can refine this data set for any time frame that dates back to 2006 to minute-by-minute data within the past 24 hours. So I would do this by selecting the last 7 days, last 30 days, or again, last 24 hours. And this date picker slides and can be customized as well. So if we wanted to go back to some of that historical data, we could just simply drag and drop this date picker and instantly go back to that period in time. Now again, in this specific dashboard I've developed, I do not have my drill down permissions enabled for viewer status. So you can see here, I can hover over and see some of these peaks and dips in conversation, but I'm not going to be able to drill into the dashboard. Here I have some of the top mentions of the House Republicans, House Democrats, top links, and top links mentioning House Republicans. And essentially the way I built this out was if I go back to my Analytics tab, I created queries within the Analytics tab that mentioned all of those specific Twitter handles related to those party members and saved them off and incorporated them into my dashboards. And again, here's another dashboard that I've developed that is monitoring UK policies. So I essentially developed a query within Topsy Pro that monitored topics as they pertain to education, economy, and healthcare. And it's important to note that you can actually now benchmark up to 10 separate queries simultaneously within one dashboard. And each query can contain up to 200 keywords per query. So if I had specific topics or queries or hashtags that related to the economy or healthcare, I could incorporate up to 200 of those keywords within this one query and benchmark then it against 9 other queries that I've developed. And here I'm also displaying the sentiment scores for some of the main Twitter handles of the primary offices. So here you can see we have the sentiment score of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Cabinet Office, and the Attorney General's office, all displayed in one pane. And if you're monitoring this on a daily basis, if you have leadership that's logging in, they can essentially come in and see how that sentiment score has changed on a daily basis without you having to manually update the queries. It will automatically flow. And all of these queries as well will update with that same minute-by-minute granularity that we have present within the Analytics tab. And again, here I've also decided that I want to surface what the top relevant content is that's causing some of these peaks and dips in conversation. So here you get that quick snapshot of what's relevant to this query and what's kind of bubbling to the top and trending for this specific topic. You can also build out subtabs within your dashboard. So here I've created a recent news and press query to kind of complement the main trends within the first tab. So here I'm looking at the website traffic of mentions and shares from the gov.uk site. So essentially, this is a great way to track how your content is trending and what the conversations are around that content from your specific website. So here are the mentions of shares containing a link via the fire hose of Twitter back to the gov.uk website in comparison to mentions of the gov.uk website in the text of the tweet. So you can see we can actually drill in and identify some of those peaks. And again, the default time frame here is for the last 24 hours. We can instantly see a live update in this data for the last 7 days or the last 30 days as well. And again, some of the top trending tweets, the top links, and then comparing those to some of the cabinet offices' top tweets and top links as well. So if you have a sub-agency or maybe multiple Twitter handles for your agency, you could essentially benchmark all of those statistics and trends within one frame or page of the dashboard. So now I'd like to begin building out one of these dashboards to show the team how to set these up. So I'm going to develop a dashboard now that speaks to some of the main trends and influencers around the GDP within the United Kingdom. So I have a safe topic here within my queries, UK GDP. So here you can see I've created this topic and I've used Discovery to identify some of the main hashtags and keywords related to the GDP within the United Kingdom. So we can quickly take a look. There are some other topics that are surfacing here as they relate to the GDP for recent news within the 24 hours that we're looking at this topic. But essentially, I'm going to kind of cast a broad net and keep the topic category as is with some of these broader topics for this specific query. So now what I'm going to do, since I have these specific keywords saved, I'm going to save this off and just title it Dashboard Demo GDP Query. Save topic. And now that this is saved, I'll be able to incorporate this data into any dashboard I develop. I'm also going to create a query that monitors the influencers geo-inferred to the United Kingdom for this specific topic. So I'm going to sort my influencers by retweets. And again, just a refresher on influencers. So we're looking at influencers that are basically having the most influence online on all of these topics of interest geo-inferred to the United Kingdom. So, for example, The Economist is highly influential online. Users are paying attention to them, they're retweeting their content, and you can see here they've had a very large influence or impact online. Two of their tweets mentioned topics relating to the economy and received over 245 retweets. So this metric is of most importance to me for this query because I'm really focused on who is making the online influencers act on this content or share this content. Whereas maybe we wanted to look at users with um, the highest volume of tweets mentioning these keywords. You can see here John Gandhi is very passionate about this topic, and he's tweeting and mentioning most of these keywords quite frequently, but doesn't have a whole lot of influence online in general or a lot of users sharing his content. So again, you can decide which metric is most important to you for your specific analysis. And for this specific one, I'm choosing retweets. So what I'm going to do here is check all and add all of these users to my topic. And now I'm going to save this topic as dashboard demo GDP influencers. Save topic. I'm going to show the team a way to also incorporate some of our newest Boolean logic into the dashboards as well. So for those of you who might not have had an opportunity yet to test out some of our advanced Boolean logic, you can now see a lot of these new advanced operators in the search window right here. And now you can actually include and exclude multiple keywords within your query to refine the data set. So you can now add up to 200 keywords within each query by including and excluding those keywords. So I'm going to close that help window. And to get to this data to craft my Boolean logic query, I'm going to go to Topics, find UK GDP. So here's that query that I just developed, dashboard demo GDP influencers. I'm going to select all, copy. Now I'm going to paste this in a text edit or a Word document. So here essentially I've grabbed those top influencers. I believe we have maybe 10 of them in this query. Delete these keywords. And I've developed this Boolean thread of keywords I want to search for with these topics. So essentially I'm looking for mentions from this football tweet or BBC World that also contain the keywords economy, recession, UK GDP, or any of these hashtags related to the GDP. So if you're looking to monitor these influencers but don't want information that might relate to healthcare or other topics of interest like Justin Bieber, for example, you could filter out that noise and solely focus on the data coming from these users that contains any of these keywords. So essentially what I'm going to do is edit, find, replace all. So I'm going to search the document for any of these commas and replace them with an or. Replace all. I'm going to then put these queries in parentheses and add a capital "and" to this query. So now what we're looking at is any content coming from these authors, these Twitter handles, and any mentions from those Twitter handles that also contain the keywords economy, recession, UK GDP, hashtag GDP, or GDP. Now I can import this data back into Topsy Pro. Going to copy this, go back to my Analytics tab, create a new topic, So here you can see now we're looking at all of the conversations from these specific users. And if I go to top results, you can see we've now filtered those out of our data query. So when I go to my dashboards, make sure I save this, save as, dashboard, demo, influencers, GDP. Now I'm going to create a new dashboard. I'm going to change my title for this dashboard, and I'm going to do that by just checking this little rename button. I'm going to name this UK GDP Trends. And now I have the option to select multiple tabs. So you can have up to 5 separate tabs within one dashboard. So here I'm going to choose this layout for my dashboard. We have 3 separate options you can see here. In tab 1, I'm going to change the name to Trending Topics UK GDP. Now I have the option to choose any of these widgets. Let me do that a bit slower. So when adding a widget, you can either add an activity line graph, large numbers to show those large kind of statistics to management, or you can choose top tweets or top links as your content. So for this graph, I'm going to choose an activity line graph. We're going to call this Trending Topics again. Oh, let's say GDP Trends. And you have the option to either choose the top 5 items from a single topic or compare multiple topics. So essentially, if you have one query built out, we'll surface the top 5 keywords from that query that contain the highest volume of mentions. Whereas if we're comparing multiple topics, find, okay, GDP. Here you can see I can choose multiple topics to compare. I'm just going to do a control find again for my UK GDP influencers. And essentially, if I were continuously building out this topic, I could choose up to 10 analytics queries that I've developed to compare simultaneously within the same frame. For this purpose, I'm just going to choose these 2 for now and add them to my topic. Then I'm going to choose top tweets for this specific widget. Mentions. Add that. And I'm also going to choose top links for this specific widget. And choose the same topic, just so it's displaying both of those data sets within the same frame. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my influencers query, so I can compare within this frame both the mentions of GDP to the top influencers and what those conversations look like. Same here, top links, GDP influencers. This one. And now I have the options, and you can see I can select the default date range. And here's where you can add the viewing options for your specific dashboard. So I'm going to keep this checked that I do want viewers of this dashboard to be able to drill into the specific data points. And I'm also going to keep this for the last 24 hours. So if I'm doing daily monitoring, all of my dashboard viewers can continuously see that 24-hour granularity, minute by minute within the dashboard. Update. Now I'm just going to click Save and Finish. And now I have the option to view this dashboard or share it. So I'm going to preview it just to make sure all of the data is being displayed correctly and the way I want to display it. So here you can see, now I'm looking at all of those trends. So here the IMF and another trend. And I can drill in now and see what's causing those peaks and dips in conversation. And it looks like a lot of information still within the UK related to fear related to the United States. And then also here some information related to the IMF causing peaks and dips in conversation. And when I look at this top mentions, I can now see the top trending content. And this also automatically scrolls down in all of these widgets to display more data as well. And all of these widgets are now sorted by our relevance ranking to quickly surface what's trending at that time. And again, you can look at the last 30 days or jump to any customized period in time, and this dashboard will automatically update. My dashboards. So again, going back to this dashboard, you can really customize these for any specific query. And I want to kind of, let's see here, open up the floor as well for questions and maybe develop a customized dashboard depending on everyone's feedback. So if it's all right with everyone, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone so we can open up the floor for conversations as well around these. Apologies. Okay. Not sure who that was. Any questions so far with the team? Maybe we'll just use chat then. Someone seems to have their team in the background. No questions. All right, so we have a couple questions from Alexis. So the dashboard package, I guess I can speak to pricing as well. And how did you add the sentiment feature to the dashboard? Okay, so I'll answer Neil's question first about sentiment, and then Alexis, I can cover the pricing model for you as well. So I'm going to minimize this. So if we edit this UK policy report, here's a widget in which I added the larger numbers to the data set. And you can see here you can add up to 4 large numbers within any dashboard. So you have the option to choose this either for a topic, and again that topic can contain up to 200 keywords, or for a specific keyword that you manually enter into this frame. So essentially, I chose just a keyword since this was a simple query of just one Twitter handle, and I added that keyword here. And from this drop-down bar, you can choose sentiment, tweet count, or impressions for any of these as the specified metric to display. So sentiment is going to be, again, our internal sentiment score, which is a score from 0, which is the most negative you can have, to 100, which is the most positive. And what we'll do is over time, for that specific time slice that you have specified in the window, we'll show how that sentiment score has either increased or decreased. So for example, if the Cabinet Office's sentiment score has increased to 2 points from maybe 78 to, whatever, you can see that increase in the platform. You can also do that for tweet count or impressions. So for impressions, it's going to be the same metric that you see in the Analytics tab. So if we go back to Analytics, just a refresher on the impressions, it's going to be the same metric you see here in exposure. So again, this is the potential impressions that this message has had over its audience, and that's based on an aggregate count of retweets and the volume of followers of those retweets. So if one tweet is sent and the author of that tweet had 10 followers and then it's retweeted by another author that also has 10 followers, the aggregate impression score will be 20 for that specific piece of content. So you can benchmark the exposure metric. That would be particularly useful for campaigns. So if there's a hashtag that you're putting out there for a specific campaign, you might want to see how the exposure of that message is increasing and decreasing over time. And here you can see you can compare up to 4 separate keywords simultaneously within this pane, and then save this data. And when I save and finish and go back to view this data, you'll see those main numbers appear, and you can see how this score has increased or decreased from a day ago, since my default time frame is the last 24 hours. So let me check back on questions. So yes, Jesse, I see your question. So Jesse's question is, we mentioned that the data goes back to 2006. Is that regardless of when you set up an account? So the answer to that is yes, and I'll dive into the data behind the platform a bit now for the team. So essentially when you're querying against Topsy, we're one of the few providers with direct access to the fire hose, and the only one we know of that's actually storing all of that data internally. So what that allows us to do is, unlike other providers that are asking you to set up collection rules and then collecting data around those rules that don't allow you to see historical data, you can actually query in the platform any topic, any keyword, or even a geography without a keyword, and get minute by minute granularity for the full fire hose, every tweet, link, and photo that's been shared back to 2006 on any topic. And we support that for all users. So again, that's where the licensing model comes into play, where it's one user per license and we don't cap you on the volume of data. And the next question up, yep, Andrew, so the functionality within the existing cost. We do have a separate enterprise model, and I think that relates to Alexis's question as well, so I'll cover that in a bit. So how accurate is sentiment, and can the user moderate it, i.e. alter incorrect sentiment? And this question's from Cyan Williams. So in terms of sentiment in the platform, our sentiment score is based on, and I'll go back and demo this for the team. Dashboards, analytics. So our sentiment score is a bag of words approach that's based on all of the conversations occurring on Twitter each day. So essentially, we're doing some normalization for the general tone on Twitter and then identifying what the level of sentiment is for each query that you're looking at. You can do some customization of the sentiment as well to include and exclude keywords that might not be relevant to your search. So, for example, if I wanted conversations related to the economy, but did not want any mentions of Obama, I could mitigate that keyword from my search criteria to eliminate that data set. Sentiment in general, we always stress, especially to our government clients, that it is a metric that you do need a high degree of a large data set to work with to really have a high degree of accuracy there. So essentially, when looking at sentiment, even from a human to human level, sometimes it's difficult to detect the tone of that data. For example, we might have a different way of saying something in the United States, like in Boston, for example, where they say something is wicked smart or wicked cool, that might not translate with certain patterns in the United Kingdom. So, with that said, we find approximately 70% accuracy on the sentiment algorithms when they're applied to larger data sets. So, an example being the Twitter Political Index that we developed in partnership with Twitter for the last presidential election. So, with that sentiment score, we actually did a rather large testing of the algorithm by comparing it with the results of the Gallup polls, which is a local poll that's done across the United States here to benchmark sentiment for upcoming elections. And by comparing our sentiment score with the Gallup polls, we noticed that there was a high degree of correlation between our result sets and the Gallup polls. And in fact, social media was actually an early indicator of the Gallup polls with similar results maybe 2 or 3 days out. So in aggregate, you'll see that 70% accuracy. And again, it's always important to look at the data on that larger scale as opposed to a tweet by tweet basis. So thanks, UCBC tweet count. So the automated reporting and alerts, the alerts can be incorporated with the dashboard. So if you have queries that are set within the dashboard, you can incorporate those same queries as alerts. So essentially, you would set those alerts within the dashboard that are slated to that same analytics query that's being displayed within the dashboard. And another question from Tom. Who can I share the dashboards with? If members of my team don't have a Topsy Pro login, will they be able to read the dashboards I created? So essentially, with the dashboards, and I'll kind of dive into the model now and pricing for the team. So essentially with the dashboards, the bundled package that we have to date for the dashboards and analytics packages would give access to a team to 3 licenses of Topsy Pro with the capability to edit and create dashboards. So 3 analysts could access all of the same capabilities that you see in the analytics tab of a Topsy Pro account and also have access to the dashboards to create and develop dashboards as they wish. We can then give access to 10 dashboard viewer licenses, and those viewer licenses would essentially be login credentials for viewer only access to any of the dashboards you develop. So essentially, say you have, and the way we do them now is by domain, and a domain is considered your organization. So if everybody in your organization has one email address that's typically the same uk.gov or ukcabinet.gov email alias, all of the viewer licenses would be slated to that domain. And through that, you would be able to provide 10 viewer licenses to your management or other team members and then share those dashboards with them through this interface. So essentially, if I wanted to share my UK policy report, I could click the share button and I would access and add the people that I would want to share this with. So I would add the email address of my user and can view and click done. So here I'll just, I'll share this with Jeremy. And now this dashboard has been shared with that team member and they have viewer-only permissions. So the bundled Topsy dashboard that we're conducting now would contain 3 analytics licenses and 10 dashboard viewer licenses for approximately 50,000 US dollars. And that's the current bundled rate. We are selling the dashboard viewer licenses separate as well. So we could do a 3-pack of Topsy dashboard licenses for approximately $15,000 and US dollars. So that's our current pricing model. We have been working with several agencies for more of an enterprise approach as well. So obviously, the more enterprise licenses the team wants to purchase, the more aggressive we can get with that bundled discounting and pricing. And again, we can have separate conversations offline to discuss some of the other kind of routes we can go to for gaining access to these, especially for users that might already be Topsy Pro users, but those are the typical standard pricing models we have in place. And sentiment score. Yep. So I have a question from Rory. Can you quantify roughly the volume of mentions tweets required to obtain a sentiment score that is reasonably accurate? What constitutes a large enough data set? So essentially, I've asked this question to our internal team. It's a great question. And typically we recommend approximately 200 posts per time slice. So for every granular piece of time slice in that data set, having roughly 200 pieces of content to back up that data set. And I can send some examples over as well, but I would say that's a good starting point. So I have another question from Jesse. What does the web domain section on the bottom left do? Are these just the domains you've saved to track traffic? So I'll cover this question as well. Analytics. So the web domains filter allows you to filter on content from any of these domains, and you can also specify your own domain. So essentially, if I wanted to see all of the content that's coming in that we're crawling through the fire hose that contains a link to facebook.com, I could add that as my filter and only receive content that contains links back to Facebook. So here you can see this is the total volume of links we're ingesting over the last 24 hours linking back to Facebook. And if we look at activity, cumulative activity, we're looking at roughly 4.4 million posts coming from Facebook that we're ingesting and making searchable. So if we wanted to refine this and look at a keyword, you can see here I'm now searching for any mentions of hashtag economy filtered on any links from Facebook within that data set. So here you can see if I were to click through to any of these links, it would take me to the Facebook page. Let's just click through on this one. So here you can see the Facebook link and the information that was shared around this specific post. Are you limited to domain only, or can I have gov.uk/DCMS? So the way you would do gov.uk, nope, sorry, wrong box. There we go. So if you wanted to search for content coming from your website, you would put in gov.uk as the main web filter. And then you could search for DCMS to see if there's any content coming in. So let's see here. DCMS, And you could also filter, say you wanted to see how this content is trending. We could go to, oh wait, it's uk.gov, DCMS. Here we go. So there's two ways to do this. You can either copy and paste the website URL into the handle here, and you can see how this specific website domain has trended over a period in time and all of the supporting content for this. We could also type in the gov.uk website and keywords related to the culture, media, and sport, and that would pick up any conversations that contain a link from gov.uk mentioning DCMS. You can see here some of the data coming in. Folders and getting info back from the whole domain. Okay, so Jesse, did this answer your question? Wait for a response. Perfect, great. And added to. So we have another question from Andrew asking if we have mentions from a specific URL, can that be added to a topic? And the answer is yes. So in order to add mentions from that specific URL, you could essentially, let me show this, create a query like this, but refine it to reflect keywords related to that specific URL. I know, Andrew, we've talked about this to date, and there is not a way to continuously monitor that specific URL, but you could conduct a query that looks at that specific website and keywords related to that URL to ensure you have all of the data. So an example being, leave and conducted this KGDP. Go back. Yeah, so in this topic, hold on. Let me just recreate it. So essentially, we could create a topic. That monitors the activity from the specific uk.gov website. So this is looking for any content related to uk.gov. And then we can also add, yeah, so for this one, it's any content from uk.gov. And I've also included in this query specific mentions both of the website as well as specific mentions of the keyword within the tweet text. So if I add this, we can just add uk.gov trends. And this is how you could save this. So just quickly to show one small example. View. So here you can see all of those trend lines. You can do this in the Analytics tab as well as in the dashboards for any specific website domains. We also have another comment from Gareth asking if we can monitor comment feeds for online newspaper articles or any other content. So right now, as a data set, we don't have that in the platform. With that said, the platform can ingest any author-based content. So if that was of interest to a larger group, we could potentially discuss either integrating that as an existing data set, or B, having the team integrate our APIs into a platform that's also monitoring the feeds. We will also be adding Facebook as kind of the next frontier for monitoring brand pages. And with those capabilities, you will actually be able to monitor your own agency's Facebook brand page and the comments supporting that. So I'd certainly like to schedule some time, Gareth, to talk about other comments or information that might be of interest and get that feedback to our product team as well. So this concludes some of the main dashboard capabilities. I know we're almost up on our full hour of time here, but in terms of next steps moving forward, we can definitely support trial accounts for the dashboards now at this point. We're rolling out the capabilities live this month, and I'd be more than happy to schedule follow-on sessions for all of the agencies that have been on the line to talk through some of the details or help you kind of customize and develop your own dashboards for your agencies. So as next steps moving forward, we'll be reaching out to all of the attendees just to gain your feedback, and then we can also share this recorded webinar if you have any other team members that are interested in a training session. And then from there, we'll activate the trial accounts and we can discuss some of the enterprise-wide licenses on a case-by-case basis for each agency and what their specific objectives are. So thank you everyone for joining us. It was great to see some of our existing clients on the line as well as some users that I know I've spoken with in the past. So please send any questions to us, and let me just pull up my contact information as well. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm our account executive for the public sector. My email is lauren@topsy.com, and here's my direct line. So take a little note. So thanks everyone.